everyone. So I'm doing a semi kind of lazy blog today where I'm going to talk more than I am going to write, mostly because I just think I'm very, very tired. So I am sharing with you an idea that I had recently on parent teacher conferences. And I've been reading a lot lately about how important it is that we are teaching our students to be advocates for themselves in their classes and with their teachers and with their counselors and with their parents and pretty much all the stakeholders. And so that had me reflecting on the parent teacher conferences I've sat in on during the last 12 years that I've been in education. And I've sat in on a lot of them. So if you're in education and you've been a teacher, you've sat in on a lot of parent teacher conferences. And when we think about those conferences, they're primarily led by the counselors and the teachers and the parents. And sometimes students will attend those and sometimes they won't. Oftentimes when they do attend those meetings, they tend to attend them silently and they don't have much of a voice in that room. Now, this is no bash on any of the schools that I've been at before or the parent-teacher conferences I've attended. It's just a reflection of what I have seen. But it got me thinking about, the student is the primary reason that we're having that parent-teacher conference. So why are we not hearing more from them and about the ways that they need support? Not that I'm saying that they are not in the wrong or that they can't do things to help them improve, but how can we put it into their hands? So what I did was I developed a form, shocking, right, that I made another Google Doc or something Google related, but I created this so that students could be the advocates in the room. So if you look at this, and I'll kind of go through this with you really quickly. This would be a form that you would hand to your students and you would share this with them and they would fill it out as well as the counselor. So the counselor does have a very small portion of things that they have to fill out, but mostly it's going to be something that the student will complete before they attend the meeting so that they can lead the meeting. So what it does is it has some directions here at the top, and then it also has a conference script. Now the conference script starts with the counselor entering the reasons why they are meeting. So this could be because of grades or behavior, really whatever it is that the counselor and the students and parents feel like need to be discussed. Then it moves on to the student portion, which is much, much bigger. So first it asks just for some information based on their classes. What are their grades? Who are their teachers? And then the student has to go in and say, what are the areas in which they need the most support? Now it only has 3 listed here, but it doesn't mean you can't add another row and the student can put in more options. But the idea is, why do you need that support? So getting the student to think about, let's say they're struggling in math. Do you need that support because your grades are bad? Are you having behavior or discipline issues in that class? So what is that reason that you are needing support? So it's getting them to think about their grades, their behavior, their overall actions that they're having within that class and why they might need that support. From there, and this is all done beforehand, the student will then go in and then think of all the stakeholders. So students have a lot of stakeholders in their life. They themselves, their parents and guardians, their teachers, and their counselors. So based on that, what are 3 reasons, or what are 3, I guess you could say, support features? I'm not sure. Remember, tired brain right now. But what are 3 ways of support that these stakeholders can give? And then what are 3 ways that the student can improve themselves? Because we do want to make sure that the student realizes, if this is the case, that there are ways that they can improve as well. But then to also be reflective on how can their parents and guardians help them, how can their teachers help them, and how can their counselors help them. Now I put the option in there for 3 improvements, 3 supports, and that could obviously be adjusted. And if you hear a shaking dog right now, that is my dog in the background. And from those improvements and supports, the student will really reflect on that. And the idea is to get them to learn how to be their own advocate, to say, this is where I know I need to improve, but parents, this is how you can help me, or teachers, this is how you can help me. One thing I would, as an avid teacher, I would always hear from my students is that, this would really help me if this teacher did this. So like if they were able to give me the notes ahead of time, or if they were able to record their notes so I could look at them again. All those things would help me. But I worked middle school, and most middle schoolers tend to be a little bit fearful of talking to their teachers. So this gets them reflecting on the support that they need and also the opportunity to share that with their teachers. So as we're going through this, as you can see, the student would fill all this out ahead of time, but then during the meeting, this would be the script. So the counselor would start reading it. The students then would read and share their information, the classes they need support in, and then how they can get that support. And then it will come back to the counselor. So this right here is the big part. Even though it doesn't look like it's very long, this is really where the student is learning to be their own advocate. And then it will come back to the counselor, who will then allow the opportunity for teachers to share their insights. And there's a section for the counselor to take notes if needed. And then it will come back to basically a discussion portion where all stakeholders can have a discussion on the student's progress. They can take notes here and then adjust the needs for support as they're going through this meeting. And then that's it. And then there's just a short section at the end to state who attended that meeting and what is their role in that student's life. So as you can see, it's not a very complex form. It is 3 pages, but mostly this is stuff that the student is going to fill in before the meeting and then share at the meeting. And then during the meeting, there's just a section for notes as well. But again, I really just think the idea of students being their own advocates during these meetings are so important because they are the ones that are, to an extent, in charge of their education. They have to advocate. They have to advocate for themselves. And even though the teachers are providing their support, and so are counselors, and so are parents and guardians, it is down to the student to also make those decisions to participate or to be successful as well. So how do we help them understand that, their education is important? They are in charge of their education. However, it is okay to ask for support from these stakeholders because those stakeholders are just as important in helping them be successful. So hopefully this is something that could be useful to you or to your school. I would love to hear if other people are doing something similar. And hopefully you have enjoyed this very short video.